Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. Going to make lasagna in this one with the homemade pasta. In my last video I made some pasta and I still have some of the dough left over. So this was 00 flour is completely impossible to find anywhere. So this was with a bread flour, so we're going to see how good it is at rolling out this time, making pasta sheets to make lasagna with. Other things that are scarce in supermarket is cans of tomatoes. Can you believe it? So I've actually had to buy a homemade bolognese like tomato sauce base, so apologies for that, but again, these are strange times we're going through, right? So we've got to use what we can, and anyway, I'll stop waffling and we'll get on with this. Okay, first of all we're going to make ragu. So I've edited this video in sequence, so what you see is the order in which I've done this cooking. For the ragu I've got some pork and some beef, and I also used a bit of bacon. This is beef. Now what I'm doing here, this is a technique from the wonderfully talented Sunny from Cooking with Sunny. If you're watching, mate, hi. And if you haven't checked out his channel yet, I suggest you do. He's got a load of really interesting techniques and hacks, and as I say, he taught me this one. I never heard of this before, but what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get this thing called Maillard reaction. That's where you get that caramelized meat, and that will really increase the flavor of your finished dish. It may not look very good, and you might be thinking, well, it's not all broken down into little pieces. That doesn't matter, it's going to later. We have created some really lovely caramelized textured meat there that's going to break down, but the flavour from that is going to be epic. I've done it with the rest of the meat. It's actually going on behind me while I'm dicing up these onions. So there's me dicing onions. I'm sure you know how to do this, but there you go. Slice through to the root, then that way and then that way, and you got a nice even dice. There I am, just sort of taking care of the meat that's frying behind. Sorry about the view of my backside, there's no need for that, was there? And here we go, back to the onions again. So this is all kicking off. This is frantic cooking here. Peeling some celery. You don't have to do this, but I like to. I think it's nicer to eat without the fibrous sort of skin on the outside. Dicing that up nice and small. So let's get cooking the vegetables. So the onion is going to go in with the celery, and in a minute I'm going to chuck in some garlic, and that is called sofrito. And that is basically an Italian word to describe some softened onions and garlic, usually with some other vegetables added and some tomato. I believe the Spanish also use that expression, so I don't know who came up with it first. You guys can fight that out amongst yourselves. So there's the rest of the garlic going in. Once I think I've got those vegetables nicely softened, I can go in with some hardy herbs. Whatever herbs you like in. At the moment, when we're cooking and stuff, we're just using what we can get our hands on. Right? It's crazy times, right? So here is the not very nice looking fried up sort of nuggets of meat, and you can see some really dark caramelized pieces in there, but trust me, that is going to break down under nice long slow cooking. Plenty of red wine. That is the shop bought tomato sauce. Sorry to say, but I literally, as I said earlier, I couldn't find any tin tomatoes. Swill it out with water, and yeah, get that to that stage. And then what I've decided to do, rather than cook it out on the stove, I'm going to finish it in the oven with a lid on it. Either way, keep your eye on it though, don't let it boil dry, don't let it get burnt, that'd be bad. So I've got a well floured work surface. Get your dough on there and be prepared to work hard for a little while. Yep, you're going to have to put your back into this, but we could all use the exercise, especially me. Right, so rolling out the pasta. This is a technique that I was always taught to do as well, where you roll it at the beginning and then you fold it over itself. Just brushing off the excess flour, because I don't want to add any more flour into the actual dough. So I'm doing it sort of business letter style, but you can just fold it in half, turn it, and roll it again. If you're using a pasta machine, it's much easier, I promise you. And I do have one. It's in my shed. I think I might find it soon.
But I thought, no, let's do this way. So people that are going, I can't do pasta, I haven't got a pasta machine. Well, you can, because look, I'm doing it. And if you check out my last video, you can see how I made the dough as well. So again, just brushing off the excess flour, folding it over itself, and going to roll it out again. And then basically I'm just going to roll this out and to get it as thin as I can really with a rolling pin. If you've got a pasta machine, you don't want to take it down to the very, very finest, thinnest setting. You probably go to the second one, the penultimate thinnest, if that makes any sense. And this is just a bit of a hard graft really, there's no other words for it. You can see, obviously I've speeded this up, you can see that the pasta is sort of retracting as I'm rolling it. It wants to go back, which basically means, this is a bit sciencey and obviously I don't understand this because I'm a total div, but it's the glutens that they're tightening up and they want to retract. So what I need to do is let this thing rest for a little while and come back to it. First of all, I want to pick it up. I think the camera can show you how thin it is, and I'm trying to see whether I can see with the shadow my hand through it, because that would be a sign that it's ready, but no, it's not quite there yet. So cover it with a tea towel so hopefully it doesn't dry too much. Have a cup of tea, and then watch a couple of YouTube videos, a bit of Pasta Grannies or a bit of Cooking with Sunny again, and roll it out again. And now hopefully you can sort of see that it's behaving itself. I'm rolling it and it's mostly staying where I've told it to go. And we're just about there now. It's nice and thin. It's even. This is the dish I'm going to use. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to cut that down the middle. Obviously, if you're using a pasta machine, you have completely uniformed size. You'll have less waste, but say we're doing it this way. So I decided to use my cutting board because my lady will get upset with me if I keep using a knife on this work surface. Don't throw away those trimmings. They're going to get cooked as well. Those maybe need those to fill in some little gaps later when we build this lasagna. So I've decided to cut that into quarters, and again just that little bit of trimming off the side. Be careful if you're stacking these a long way in advance. I've actually got some semolina flour here, you can say, so I've cut it all and I'm going to leave it for a little while because I've got to boil the water and just do a bit of organising, and I'm filming at the same time. So a little bit of semolina flour just to stop it from sticking to itself. Salted boiling water, and I've got a bowl of just cold water. I haven't got any ice in there. Put a bit of olive oil in there just to hopefully stop this pasta from sticking to itself. It's difficult to tell you how exactly long it needs. You're not cooking this all the way. Don't cook it to al dente. It's going to be undercooked. But what I found is, even with just 1 or 2 minutes of cooking, it's swollen up. It's actually got larger, which is great because I was a bit worried that I didn't have enough pasta to do this dish. And now I'm feeling I've got a bit of relief. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I've got enough. That's cool. I'm not going to have to sort of try to sneak in a couple of home shop bought pasta sheets. Anyway, so I've got those laid out there, a bit of olive oil on them, and put the others on top. This is all basically just so we don't have them all stuck to each other. And I thought I'll cover that with a bit of cling film. Now, how is the ragu? So that's had a couple of hours in the oven. It's looking a little bit dried out, so I'm going to add a little bit of water in a minute, but you can see how it's breaking down and becoming a sauce. And then a potato masher is ideal for really getting rid of some of those small lumps. But the flavour we got into that earlier, with that really, really hard, fast sort of searing, that's in there now, that flavour. That's not going anywhere. And there we go, I added a little bit of water. Sometimes water is all you need to sort out a sauce. Some fresh parsley going in near the end. Taste it for seasoning. Twist the pepper till your arm hurts. As usual, I edited that down. Bit of salt. And have another taste. And basically, that is your ragu done. Or your bolly, as we would say in the UK. Leave that with the lid on. Right then. Bechamel. So the bechamel needs to be the last thing you make, because bechamel, if you make it and then leave it, it will get a skin on it because of the flour. I'm going to add a link to a full video of making bechamel because I'm really racing through this because I'm aware that this video is quite long. But basically, bechamel, make a roux, butter and flour, add milk bit by bit by bit and stir it. I use a wooden spoon, I don't use a whisk. I don't like to damage my pans with a whisk. Now it's bubbling, that means it's thickened up. Obviously you need to just test it to make sure it doesn't taste floury. I've added some Dijon mustard, and I thought for a little bit of extra richness and luxury, some cream cheese. Couldn't get hold of any ricotta or mascarpone, but you know, cream cheese is nice. Final tasting and seasoning. And that is pretty much a very, very nice bechamel done. And then what we're going to do, we're going to start building this thing together now. Okay, we'll stick a lid on that so that it doesn't get a skin. Here we go. So we've got our dish. I like to start off with a very, very thin layer, extremely thin layer of the sauce on the bottom. This is going to stop the pasta sheets from sticking to the bottom of the dish. We don't want that. You can see how they've actually swollen up, because I thought they were about the right size. So I'm glad, you know, we've got a little bit of overlap there. So the bechamel going in at this stage, but this is more like just a smear of bechamel, and then I'm covering that with, in this case, I've got pecorino. Parmesan would be perfect, and I won't tell anybody if you use a bit of cheddar. That'll be our little secret. And here we go, another layer, a little bit more this time of the sauce, but I'm aiming to get 4 layers into this dish. I think with the lasagna, you've got to try to get a minimum of 3 layers. 4 layers is great. 5 or more layers is even better. I think the more layers you get, it's just, yeah, rock and roll. So more of that, and then I thought, well, let's use mobile phone cam, speed it up to sort of give you a bird's eye view of me building this thing up very, very quickly. So more ragu, more pasta, more bechamel, more pecorino, more pasta, etc. I'm going, and there you can see I'm using the little trimmings, so I haven't wasted those. And I've got to the end there, and I've got some leftover sauce ragu. That's absolutely fine. That's not going to go to waste. And here we go. The final bit. You can be more generous at this stage with the bechamel, lashings of it on. Make sure it's covered all over, and then a very, very generous amount of pecorino on top of that. And that, my friends, is going to be just about ready to go into a hot oven. Wow, I really am putting a lot of cheese on it. Here we go. So my oven's preheated to 200. It doesn't really matter. Just basically hot oven, bake it until it's really golden and bubbly. Everything in there is basically cooked anyway. I'm just making sure the pasta's cooked there. With a knife, it's going in very easily. There's no resistance. I think that is good advice. If you try to go straight into this when it's absolutely piping hot, you're just going to burn the roof of your mouth off. So let it cool down just a little bit. That looks messy, but those cuts there actually do help. I've decided to divide this into 9 pieces, I think. They're quite small pieces. You can have 2 or whatever, really. And oh, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. You'd have had time in that 5 or 10 minutes to knock together a little bit of salad to go with this. So that is basically it now. That is it. Thank you very much for watching Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons, this episode where I made lasagna from my own homemade pasta. I hope you like this. Any parts of it that you fancy having a go at, get stuck in. Let me know how you get on. And if you're new here, please like and subscribe and even share this video. That will help my channel grow. And until the next video, bye.